email. She may be on her way now.
She said that and left.
All right. How's everybody doing?
Great. Good.
All right. So want to start off by thanking everybody for all your participation. This week's been busy, as you can imagine. We've got some really good input. As steering committee, you know, it's one of those things where we got a lot of stuff to throw at you today, and we also want to kind of test the temperature on the different ideas, because I think there are a lot of things that we're trying to figure out how to manage, and you know, different identities, different organizations, and things like that. So we're going to walk you through this stuff and share it with you, and then have a little bit of time to talk about it and see what your gut reaction is to it. And is there anything you want to say before we get right in?
No, I think one of the things that just for us is that one of the things that we said on Wednesday, we'll reiterate today, is we want to hit this out of the ballpark, but we also recognize that the city scoped this in a manner that is an iterative process, so we have a chance to sort of go through. And so we took things this far, but we know we have additional things to look at based on the feedback, because if we kept going down every avenue, it might have been too much, frankly. And we've already got 40 slides, I think, to share.
So I guess the first thing I always like to do is look around and see what other communities around you look like. As you can imagine, the primary graphic tool that the city has as of right now falls very much in line with what Central and Liberty have. And it is truly just a city seal. And city seals are important graphic tools, but they shouldn't be the only graphic tools. So we're going to dig into the seal, and we're going to look at that, and we're going to make some recommendations to that, but then we're also going to create some additional things that we think really create a more well-rounded system there. Once you dig a little deeper, obviously you start to get into the things that are used. And guess what? There are a lot of greens and a lot of E's. And I think that there is this question, why so many different variations? And then the other side of that is, why so much consistency, almost to the point of everything is going to be green and only green. And the integration of green is very important, but also being able to have enough of a color palette to convey messaging, I think, is equally as important. So, we can look at this and we can kind of see that base foundation. We look at some of the newer amenities online, a lot of talk around Doodle Trail. Doodle Trail logo was something that was created through a design contest, which, being able to get a community engaged in a design process it always has some validity to it. But one of the biggest things that I always say is, when you're developing an asset like this, you have to consider, what is your investment in that asset? And then what is the most strategic way to position that asset to drive additional growth and development? So if you have a $1.2 million trail, then a $100 design contest to convey that trail is not necessarily congruent with the investment. So one of the things that we're going to look at is making some recommendations to not necessarily come out and replace this, but have something that can be used from the market side of things, where we can truly take advantage of that asset to drive additional growth and activity and energy around. And one of the other things that we recognized is, you've got the Doodle Trail, but you also have Doodle Park and Doodle Station. So there's some cool kind of energy just around the Doodle identity. The Doodle identity, as we say. I know, sorry. Then you also have a couple different organizational identities. The Easley Downtown Business Association, this logo is completely and totally fine. It does exactly what a business association logo attempts to do when there is no destination brand. So you put the emphasis on Easley because you know that this organization is promoting the community. But I think as we continue through the process, we might see some recommendations that help the EDBA evolve that look a little, but there's no reason to change it until you adopt some of the other tools. So
we stopped short of going into organizational rebranding from the other partner organizations at this point in the process.
Right.
We will be looking at it as we move ahead.
Exact same message with Chamber. You know, it's doing all the things. Guess what? We can check green off the list. You know, we're either going to have a bike, we're going to have a train, or we're going to have a mountain. Check, check, check. You know, so like from an identity standpoint, everything is somewhat simplified. But
Quit talking about the chamber.
oh man, you came in right at the chamber. Yeah. So you know, again, this is one of those things where you've got a organization that's kind of serving as one of those visitor ambassadors to the organization. I mean, to the community, but there's no reason to change this until you have other tools in place. So we're going to just kind of put the pause on it.
Okay, and so what I want to do now is sort of transition away from the graphic piece to the verbal piece. One of the things that we felt like was really important, and is going to be important in this identity system, is, and you all said it from the chamber standpoint, EDBA, from the city, just about everybody who provided input, is really given a clear definition on what this community is and positioning it in a way that is honest, that is faithful to the history, that is forward thinking. And so what we do and what we call our brand statement is, it is a narrative of what the community is about, and it concludes with a tagline that we feel like conveys a positioning of the community. And we are deliberately picking some words here, and you will notice them as we go through, and we hope the tagline will resonate for you as well. We are really trying to position this community extremely carefully, sensitively, but boldly as well. And so, so just bear with me as I kind of put on my radio voice here. And when I don't work in the South, I have to disguise my accent, but I'm not going to today. So, if this will advance. We are Easley. We're a product of our place, the upcountry of South Carolina, a place defined by its rolling hills, mountain views, green forests, and rushing streams. We're on the main line of the old Southern Railway, and the cadence of the trains define our downtown. We know its sounds, understand its role, and let the waits be our perfect excuse, or simply a time to pause. We're a place of industrious people who help make this region the textile center of the world. We know hard work and are bound to our past and this place. We're a true community. We bestow all the benefits of a genuine hometown that is complete in its offerings. We shop, eat, and play here. We celebrate the arts, our history, and institutions. We value family and faith. We cherish our children, our parents, and our neighbors. We rally around our schools, celebrate the home team, and carry pride that is earnest and not boastful. We offer a friendly wave when we pass, a warm smile and hello. We say please, thank you, and ma'am. We are confident in our role in this region. We know the dynamics of the upcountry, its vibrant growth, bold vision, and spirited stride. Our pace of progress embraces this vision, yet we choose to remain true to this place. We built a park that attracts thousands for tournaments. We transformed a mill into a place where people shop and dine. We turned a railroad into a trail, and we are reinventing our downtown into a thriving collection of independent businesses. We're a small town to many and a big city to others. We're the embodiment of connections to our upcountry setting, our rich history, our abundant potential in our people. We're the green wave of Easley High, a wave of deliberate progress, a wave of confidence in our future, and a wave of people who cherish our home. South Carolina, a warm upcountry welcome. And so in this brand statement, we deliberately did some things. We opted not to use the word upstate. And we did that very deliberately. The upstate is a fabrication of the television stations and media. It is robust growth of a region that is trying to redefine itself. The upcountry is an old term. It's a very old term. But Easley, among all the cities in the entire region,
can lay claim to that term with the truest and most honest approach, because you're that much closer to the mountains. You're that much closer to the past. You're that much closer to what's true to what this whole region is about. And so we deliberately are not trying to insult the upstate, but we're trying to let Easley lay claim to the upcountry, because that really is a unique position for you to be in. One who has a history here, deep enough and full enough, they know that that's a term. They know that that's real. And what it allows for a newcomer to do is learn a new term. I'm moving to the upstate, but I opted to go to a place where I'm going to get a warm welcome. That's the other thing that we wanted to deliberately convey. This community is warm. It is a welcoming place. It's welcoming to one another. You're welcoming to people who come in. And so that's how we wanted to land on each one of those terms. It was very deliberate and done without malice toward the bigger, toward Greenville. We're paying homage to them. We're tipping our hats. We're saying we're progressive. Yeah, we're progressive. We do it in a way that suits how we do things, which is a little bit different. So I hope that makes some degree of sense.
Any thoughts there before we jump back into look and feel? Does that kind of make sense for laying that foundation? I mean, we really liked that connection that that the Green Wave has, and how it is this kind of rallying cry, but at the same time, we want to add additional facets and dimensions to it. We want this idea of the Easley Wave to really represent that genuine hospitality in a way that you don't have to necessarily convey with the pineapple. You can convey it in a way that, you know what I mean? It's like that's part of who you are. So as we start to dig into the graphics, now that we have this foundation of values, one of the big things that I always talk about is this difference between the destination brand and the organization brand. Most of the time, communities have a ton of organization identities and no destination brand. The destination brand is a logo that's shared between organizations. It's the thing that's given away to the business community. It is where you contribute the positive experiences of the place and slightly separated away from the politics of the government.
Sorry. I Googled upcountry South Carolina and found a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, there you go. So we've got these two different tools that are in play at the same time. When you dig a little bit deeper into it, what we're actually promoting is, from a destination brand, we want to talk about historic Easley. We want to be able to kind of place that historic context and just give that comfortable feel around the place. And then on the organizational side, we've got several different organizations that we're looking at: City of Easley, Chamber, and EDBA. Now, right now, typically a city also has multiple graphic tools. They'll have that seal to represent the formal actions, and then they'll have some sort of logo. Well, the City of Easley doesn't have any kind of logo. They literally only have the seal. So anytime you've ever implemented anything, it's always been that formal seal. So the first thing that we want to do is redesign that.
And to really, I'm going to say briefly, there are two approaches to a seal. There's sort of the kitchen sink approach, which is let's put as much into the doggone thing as we can put into it. And then there's the iconic approach. And you're kind of using the kitchen sink approach right now. Let's get the American flag, let's get the South Carolina flag, let's get skyline, let's get some mountains, let's get some sunshine. Mm-hmm. And we really think that the iconic approach is one that works better, and one that can imbue meaning. But we've got some real subtle, what we call just some couple subtle things built into it. So.
And the other thing, not only is the current one a kitchen sink, but it's a kitchen sink of identities and symbols that you have no control over. So the American flag is always the American flag. That's not, you don't have any control over that. The South Carolina flag is South Carolina, you get me. So from a seal standpoint, this is what we're thinking for a redesign. Want something that's nice, clean, classic, a little bit of creative license with the size of the tree, but, you know, again, conveying that kind of overall look. There's some subtle cues in this. We chose to do a scalloped edge around it, referencing that green wave, that scallop, or, you know, the green scallop around it. Of course, we've got the clock tower of Old Market Square, a very subtle kind of reference to the mountains through the trees, but not that typical, we can see the mountains from here, so that's who we are, you know. But it just gives you the look and feel of something that's confident and lush and attractive.
And we think really the tower has got enough time, age on it that it is iconic. It really is something that can represent the community.
Get the train track around it.
That kind of subtle reference. Yeah, I mean, they've got that.
We thought of that, didn't we?
We did, absolutely. That's why we did that deliberately. And that's what's great about design.
Did you think of that, really?
Well, I mean, I knew I wanted a rhythm like that, but it wasn't, I didn't do anything that extended out so that it was overtly.
Well, thank you for pointing it out from here on
Leave
out.
it to the smartest person in the room to
Leave
get
it
it
out.
right.
Yeah, we've got the green wave and we've got the train track.
Right,
So, yes.
exactly.
So,
And one of the other things that we did think was important was we wanted it to be of equal weight with Pickens County. Pickens County has a beautiful county seal. In the world of county seals most of the time are some of the ugliest things that you will ever see. And the fact that it is a really, really nice one, and I think that now the city of Easley and Pickens County can sit right next to each other and feel very much of equal partners in any endeavor. And then from there, it's not enough just to have the seal, but being able to tie it to a word type so that you start to create that consistency. I think a lot of times we spend so much time designing the seal itself that we forget that Easley only makes up about 1/10 the overall height of the composition. So this is not actually designed to convey easily what your name is. So tying it in to a word type that allows you to say who you are. And you can
a vertical stack and a horizontal stack. And now you're going to start to see some of the consistent things that come through. So this is the first time that we're revealing a typeface that, for Easley, that is a sans serif. It is bold. It is timeless. It's got a little bit of history and nostalgia to it, but it's bold enough, being a sans serif, to be contemporary and historic almost at the same time because of the shadow. And so this typeface that you're seeing now will be one thing that carries through the identity system no matter what. And I think it's important that we start to talk about that as being, we wanted that, and then the secondary typeface, also a sans serif, a bit more of a classic and a thinner look.
And they're all from the same family. So I think one of the things that we were looking for is simplicity through kind of selecting a single type family, but then having a lot of different variation with it. But then immediately jumping in and seeing how, you know, it might make its way into things like police patch, fire, the very formal uses, formal applications as it relates to the city government. So you can see how that stuff starts to, it just works, and it really just replaces what you had. I mean, they had implemented the seal everywhere. So anytime you see one of those circular seals, you can just kind of pop it out and put the new one in. We're going to make a lot of stickers, round stickers, so you can just cover that stuff up. So, you know, that kind of answers that question on the seal side of things. But then on the other side, it's what does the logo for the city look like? And city governments are kind of funny because they're governments, and, you know, they don't always make the most popular decisions. You know, a lot of conversations about all the stupid things that the different people do in different departments, and can't believe they did that or can't believe they didn't do that.
Is that on the Facebook page?
Maybe so. So this really stands an opportunity to introduce an energy and kind of a spirit to the community. And we wanted to do something that was a thoughtful play on an E, but an E in a way that we have never used before. And we also wanted to kind of recognize through this that that understanding that from a retail market, Easley serves as the downtown for this much larger region. It's the place that a lot of communities go. So even though community pride might stop at the Pantone 348, we got the Red Devils coming here to shop. We got the Blue Flame coming here to shop. So being able to bring some of that vibrancy and diversity in. So what we're recommending is something that looks like this. And it introduced this city government tagline of progress is our pastime. And makes this connection that kind of reaches over to some of the reference with the sports and the travel teams and Red Owens and those type things, but it creates this dynamic of energy and momentum. The icon is made up of several different components, and those components are moving towards one another. The dots are being connected, but they are a series of individual elements. As you start to look at that, it starts to be able to have some expansion in it. It's clean and contemporary, which is, we're not actually seeing this approach in any of those other communities that we looked at. Everything is far more literal, even with the Greenville. I mean, the lowercase g with the river coming out of it, the Garth Brooks G, as I think I heard it described. You know, it even has a slightly more traditional feel to it, especially after nearly, 20 years of use. So you can start to see how this lays that platform for connection on the governmental side. It has the opportunity for some expansion and some slight variation. So, for example, Parks and Recreation might explore more of a one-color green-oriented version, kind of tying into that focus. So you've got a little bit of latitude, but you still want to keep those things relatively close to one another. So you start to see that city organization side start to build out. And I think one of the interesting things here is even though the typeface is the same, with that more contemporary version, we lost a little of the texture and a little of the shadow. We wanted it to be more professional oriented because they are in the business of delivering service. And also they kind of are the ones that are the steward of that vision for the community. Now we take that back to the destination brand, and that gives us the opportunity to present something that is much more comfortable, where the city icon might take you a little bit out of your comfort zone. You might even say, I'm not sure that feels like Easley. And I would say that's probably okay right now. But from a destination standpoint, something that just feels remarkably comfortable. And what we're looking at is something that looks like this. Something that looks like it might have been inspired by the topography on a vintage locomotive, or something that you might have seen in the marketing for the wares of a textile mill, or something that might have represented a very old school textile baseball team. And that familiar look and feel that you can connect with, that concept of the warm upcountry welcome, the positioning and the mindset of the upcountry's downtown, where you serve this retail center. One of the things that people seem to respond to very, very well was this idea that there's many people that come here to work as leave to work. And that was seemed to be a welcome surprise for folks. So you start to have these different elements that emerge. And once you have that, you begin to have the platform for campaigns to tell this story. Now, in my mind, that historic Easley brand, that really becomes the brand that the Chamber and EDBA and the business community are taking and using to promote the community. And one of the campaigns that I'm suggesting you roll out with is what we call Take Me Out. And Take Me Out would be a 3-part campaign. The first would be focused on a restaurant recruitment campaign so that you can build out a more robust collection of restaurants and extend the number of evenings offered for dining, dinner dining in the downtown. The second would be an extended hours campaign. This would be a coordinated, starting off once a month extended hours campaign with a good, thoughtful, realistic goal of what it's going to take to change consumer behavior. And then the third is that downtown exploration campaign.
And one thing we want to know is that what we're doing here is we're trying to make some real subtle connections, and it's sort of elective. It's elective connection. So if what you feel like is important is the railroad, that E is a railroad E, that would appear on the side of a rail car. If what is important to you is the textile heritage, it might be, what would show up on a ledger book for a textile company. And certainly from a sports standpoint, we're deliberately making that connection to J.B. Red Owens and the baseball tournaments and things that have really put you on the tourism map. And so we're making these real oblique references. Take me out to the ballgame. We're not going that far. We're not ever getting that close. We're staying far enough away, but this whole idea of take me out, and so it's this idea of we're just using very oblique references to that so that people can understand. Yeah, if that feels that way to you, that's good. If it doesn't quite make sense or you're not making that connection, that's okay too, because it still makes sense to, take me out. I want to have more restaurant options. Take me out. I want to be able to shop later. Take me out. I want to be able to explore all facets of downtown, which if you overlay town center onto downtown, it is bigger, to walk from Walmart to Academy than it is to walk from, the cemetery over to, all the way over to. Yes.
Yeah. And I think Tripp's point is spot on. I mean, one of the last things we wanted to do was we're not trying to theme it a baseball town.
Yep.
And the scary thing about sports references is people are really bad at exercising subtlety. Because it's like the moment that you introduce the idea, it's like, all the sports puns start to immediately start flowing. And, we talked about a lot of things that in our minds were kind of internal. In fact, I threw out this idea of the importance of the triple play. And what we meant by that was you need to start thinking about the downtown in the context of more than singular experiences. So how do you put together three-part experiences for visitors so that you're breaking down that I'm going to Easley to go to Taco Taco, or I'm going to Easley to go to the growler store, and then that's all I'm doing, one thing. No, you start to string those together. But we didn't want to formalize that too much. It's like, because it is that slippery slope. We also wanted to take this idea from the destination brand and show how it could start to make its way into the marketing and branding of some of those consumer-oriented events. So this is currently what it looks like when they're marketing the farmers market. This isn't really a logo. So this is, there's not a lot of thought put to the typography that's in there. So simply showing how you could evolve that into more of a look and feel that reinforces and fits into that traditional flavor. And this is both kind of a logo, and then you could see this easily turning into a poster promoting that event.
Or a t-shirt.
Right.
Or a shopping bag.
Yeah, yeah. Same thing with music at the market concert series. Guess what? You got a concert series, so you put a guitar on it. There's nothing wrong with that. But having it reinforce that overarching brand, so going through and redoing that, and it could start to feel like this. So you can see where the look and feel, some of that vibrancy, some of that individuality really come in to those event extension pieces.
So now you get to see the typeface starting to perform for you. It actually starts to make a little magic here because the typeface is so flexible that it reads nostalgic, but it reads bold at the same time. And, just from going from a guitar to that microphone, it sort of harkens back to those glory days of, the radio and bluegrass music or whatever it may be that's going on.
Right. And so then from there, we jumped over to look at the doodle. And inspiration for that came very quick and very easy. I guess I'm a lazy designer, but I like to look for historic reference. And in looking at some of the old ads, we saw one of the old ads for the Pickens Railroad. And, it's one of those things where it's like it's such a simple icon that is relevant to the rail, why not adopt it? So this does, because of its simplicity, nobody's going to sit there and feel like, oh, that's a new logo. It's a graphic tool to be able to talk about Doodle. But,
The last thing we want to do is have someone say you killed the logo.
right, that the community designed.
Right.
And, so
we're not killing that. We're offering a simplified alternative that can really boldly go where that logo can't. And so they can both coexist. I think over time what you'll find from a marketing standpoint and from an adoption standpoint, the simple is going to start grabbing hold because it can absorb a lot of things that the Doodle Trail enables people to do that they could not have done before.
right. It's like walking into a room that's got really, really, really ornate wallpaper. And you decide that, maybe we'll just frame a small section of that wallpaper and make everything else a little bit easier to take. See? That was good.
I don't
Yeah.
understand what that meant.
Okay, never mind. One of the cool things about the simplicity of this is you can simply play off of that round shape to talk about things that you can experience. And when I talk about the Doodle in my mind, I really think that connection from Doodle Park, Doodle Trail, Doodle Station makes a ton of sense. You've got to carry it all the way through to the transaction. Because if people are only using your amenity, but then they're not spending, then they're not leaving economic impact. So whether you're talking about pizza, whether you're talking about bikes, and this one was particularly popular, I think, leading up to it. Just doing these kind of fun things that make people see more meaning in something that is pretty simple. And then, finding ways that local merchants could make money from it. For some reason, we vilify profit. And we really want the brand system to be beneficial to the business community. And what's kind of cool about it is as the elements begin to emerge, what you start to have is these different kind of magnetic forces, these things that are drawing people in. They really start to represent back to that citywide brand where you're telling the story of these elements and you're really showing that the city government is driving this vision forward of a one place
But
that's
the community
dynamic.
as a whole, not just the government. I think it becomes a real partnership. And what we can envision too is with this over time, each of the partners sort of laying claim to different pieces of this as well. And as the dots continue, and what I like about this is that yes, it's stylized D, and the dots don't quite connect, but they're showing motion toward those connections. And so in time, what you can see is a city that's not afraid to move. But we wanted to really strike a balance, and that's why we have sort of these two different directions that we're looking at from a destination standpoint, promotion standpoint.
Right. And then one other thing just for fun was, playing up the power of consistency. I keep saying it, but I cannot stress enough. One of the biggest things that's lacking in most communities is the opportunity for citizens to show their connection to the place through the purchase of merchandise. And most things that you can get here in Easley are going to be directly tied to the high school. And that is a good, strong connection. But for a person who visits the community, it might feel a little odd to buy high school t-shirts and that kind of thing. So being able to make those products available. So that's what we're able to put together so far. We want to pause and open it up for your thoughts that, does the strategy that's emerging make sense? Does the overall direction and character start to, does it start to make sense? Does it start to, do you see how a system like this could be beneficial to the roles that you play? And I will give a single stamped loyalty card to Duke's Dogs and Barbecue to the first person to answer.
Reactions.
Tell me, I don't need the Duke's card though.
It's good.
Tell me the They
One's
moved
the
it
city
to-
government.
One's only used by the government.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out.
Yep.
Where was that being used? That's
Yeah,
only
that's
used
gonna
by
be the
city
thing that, like, if you're a codes enforcer, if you're, if you're working city staff, might show up on city vehicles, like, that's the place where, what we're recommending is we're recommending a little bit of the gap there, so that you,
Am I allowed to go back?
yeah, stop
I was
this.
just trying to figure out